Hi guys, Human Central here and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be looking at the recent-ish news, although when I'm covering this it's been a couple of days, of Russell T Davies returning to Doctor Who. Now I don't do much new series stuff on here. I'm trying to do more. I should probably try and do more new series stuff on here, but I just thought this was a nice point to cover, because it's an interesting thing for the new series in terms of direction. Now, if you don't know, because you're not a super fan of the show, or you don't watch it casually or whatever, Russell T Davies did the show from the 2005 revival with Christopher Eccleston all the way to the end in 2010 with David Tennant, and then left. But he's coming back for 60th and then hopefully a little while onwards. So yeah, it's an interesting time because a lot of people regard his like contribution to Doctor Who is the best part of new Doctor Who with his series. A lot of people find that his is the best, and then after that it wasn't as good, which is, in my opinion, not true, but that's what a lot of people's opinions are. But yeah, so basically what's been said so far is after Chibnall stepped down as showrunner, Russell T Davies has come back alongside Bad Wolf Productions, who are the main people who are involved with Series 1s, like Judy Gardner, who was like one of the main people behind the revival era, and mainly people who were within the revival era. Also, they're based in Wales, I believe, which probably means that Doctor Who's filming schedule most likely will return back to Wales, which is quite an interesting idea, because obviously we've not been in Wales for a while, but the very early stuff, although maybe in set in London or Manchester, was probably most likely you have seen it when filmed in Wales, like Bad Wolf Bay and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting. Now, there's a couple of things I do want to say that I do want him to do and don't want him to do, so I'll get into that. And the first thing I think he probably should do as showrunner, which isn't a be-all and end-all, but is like possibly, I just think maybe like try and not reset the character. I think it'd be unfair. Although I'm not a fan of Jodie Whittaker and I'm not a fan of Chris Chibnall in any way, and I hope that Chris Chibnall can somehow, find a loophole within the Timeless Children not where, or it was a lie, or it wasn't true or something, just because I just didn't like it very much. And I know that sounds a bit egotistical, and why should they change it just because I didn't like it, or because a couple of people didn't like it, but in the sense that I just think it was too continuity changing for it. But I don't want him to do a reset of the character where like that Doctor was not included, because I think it is a bit too it's a bit of a mean thing. But I also don't want him to sort of continue on with a female Doctor. Now, this isn't anything to do with a female actor. I don't mind a female actor playing the role of the Doctor, as the same as I wouldn't mind a female actor playing someone else as a different character. But I think, although you could say there's an argument for, well, if you didn't like Jodie Whittaker, then of course you're not going to like any female as a Doctor in that sense. I just think it would be smarter if Russell T Davies maybe did what he did with Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood, where he maybe pitched another show similar to Doctor Who in the same series and universe with another strong female lead. You could use Romana as a strong female lead. You could get an older companion back as a strong female lead. He could even try and revitalise Torchwood, but just remove Captain Jack because of his controversy. Maybe make Gwen Cooper the main character. Something like that, where it would allow Doctor Who to return back to a male character, which isn't because it's like he's good. It's better to be a male character. Again, as I said, I just think it would work, in my opinion, better if you have a male character, like for the Doctor, but then have maybe a female spin-off show with a prominent female character. Maybe even try and see if you can bring Michelle Gomez back as Missy. That'd be great. Because I just don't think although yes, it was one a time they've done it, and it was my opinion where I didn't think they worked. I just I didn't really think it was my like preemptive instincts thought that it should have probably shouldn't have become a woman, and then when it was, you know, it did it wasn't great, mainly because of the writing, but also although Jodie Whittaker is probably a great actor and other things, I've only really seen her in Doctor Who. She wasn't amazing. She wasn't making me go, well, she's salvaging this story, which I think someone like Colin Baker, Tom Baker, definitely in a couple of his stories, even someone like Hartnell, Troughton, Sylvester McCoy definitely did in a couple of his earlier stuff. The stories that were, you could say, were probably rubbish, they salvaged them. Paul McGann as well. Yeah, Paul McGann's movie, he completely salvaged them, but she just didn't do that. If the story was awful, she didn't help the story. She just kind of added to it, and that's a reason why I think she wasn't as good of a Doctor, because you could watch a column story, maybe like Time Lash, or another one that's not super high regarded, and he salvages the story because he's still a good character to watch. Second thing that I do want them to do as well, though, is to bring back some more characters. Russell T Davies is coming back, and Russell T Davies brought back made some new characters like Captain Jack, although I think it'd be harder for him to come back, and then he did come back and stuff, but maybe aside from him, you could bring Rose back, Martha back, Donna definitely would be interesting to see back, but obviously, see how they do it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to bring characters back. As I said, I think Torchwood, like Gwen, could come back with their own spin-off. Maybe even see the Sarah Jane team, like Ronnie and Clive and Sky and Luke, also come back possibly in maybe one-off, or maybe see if they could make a continued spin-off with those characters in more of a, maybe even more of a class style format, but with the characters that we know from Sarah Jane Adventures, but see where he goes with that one, because he can go in many ways. I also think, and this is my final point, it's clearly only 3 points here, keep the Master. Now, I understand, John Sim could come back theoretically if John Sim decided he wanted to come back, but considering he didn't really have many episodes against the 10th Doctor, and it would be nice to see him come back against a new Doctor. But I think Sacha Dhawan works well in the role, and I don't think that unless Chibnall regenerates Dhawan or kills off Dhawan in season 13 or in the specials, there's no reason for him to not come back when the showrunner changes. I understand, like when Russell T Davies left, so did Tennant and so did John Sim, and I know it's the same with Moffat. When Moffat left, Capaldi left, and Michelle Gomez left. But I think it would be fine. I mean, Anthony, I know John Nathan Turner was there for a while, and Anthony and they obviously would stay there for a while, and there's not really any times where the Master's crossed over, but I think it'd be nice to see where a Master is tried with two different showrunners, because I think it would work well with the character, because you can get more stories out of them, because although Chibnall did well with the Master, I'd argue that Series 12's best parts is possibly one of the best parts of the Master. I still think it'd be nice to see what Russell T Davies can do with this Master, because Dhawan is very similar. In my ranking video of the Masters, I said Dhawan is very similar to Sim, which I stand by, because I think he is. But because of that, I think that you could then make him more of an... I think Russell T Davies would definitely have the ability to make him more of a separate character to John Sim's Master, because, they are very similar, and, he's coming back with these new ideas. I think it would be nice to see him, try and separate them a little bit more. But yeah, that's just my quick opinion on the case. It's very good. It's a very interesting time to be a Whovian, because we're getting all these new stuff. The new game's coming out as of this release tomorrow on Switch, and I think up for consoles. We're getting the new Galaxy 4, the first Hartnell animated release since the Reign of 10th Planet and the Reign of Terror. Also, it's the first full animated release. We're also, we recently just got Evil of the Daleks on which is great. And you know, the specials and you know, the new series is going to be coming around sooner rather than later, which will be very good. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. But yeah, see ya.